Self-esteem means to trust in one's mind and know that they are worthy of happiness. And if you don't know how to do that, then that's going to be teaching you in today's summary of the 6 Paths of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. I first wanted to start off with a quote to give you a little bit of perspective on self-esteem. If my aim is to prove that I am enough, then the project goes on to infinity because the battle was already lost the day I conceded the issue was debatable. So self-esteem is for you. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone else, not your parents, your colleagues, your friends, or your partner. You are the master of your life, and your opinion is the only one that truly matters. The first group of pillars is the practice of living consciously, the practice of self-responsibility, and the practice of living purposefully. Living consciously is about being aware of your thoughts and behaviors throughout the day. Most people, whenever they wake up, they then go and get donuts or something unhealthy for breakfast. On the drive to work, they listen to the radio, then they get through work and come home and just sit on the couch and watch TV. And that's because they aren't living consciously. But that's the easy thing to do, right? I mean, it doesn't take any thinking, but if one were to live consciously, then they might wake up a little bit earlier, make a smoothie for themselves instead. Then on the drive to work, they would listen to a podcast or an audiobook, and whenever they got home, they would spend time focusing on and enjoying the company of their family. Self-responsibility then piggybacks off of that. And whenever I think of self-responsibility, I go back to Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he talked about responsibility being the ability to respond. Whenever you live consciously, you have the ability to respond to situations however you choose. And there are some situations that aren't in your control, but you still have the ability to respond to those situations however you want to. People who practice self-responsibility are solution-oriented, and those that don't are problem-oriented. So instead of trying to solve the issue at hand, they then focus on worrying about the problem. And instead of moping about the problem, those that practice self-responsibility try to figure out how to improve upon the situation. And if they can't improve upon the situation now, they then try and learn from that situation so that they can improve upon it in the future. You are responsible for your future and your self-esteem. So you shouldn't wait for someone to come along and help you out because no one is coming. Then looking at living purposefully, if you wander through life with no aim or purpose, then there's no real reason for your self-esteem to improve because you aren't working towards anything meaningful. That's why you need to set in place goals and then also establish actions that will help you achieve those goals. Because it's good for you to have goals, but it's much more important for you to establish actions that will help you achieve those goals. Because if you don't, then you won't know how to exactly go about achieving them. Another thing that I liked from the book is that you should leave the hoping and wishing to the children. Because if you hope that you have a successful relationship, or you wish that you lose weight, then there isn't that great of a possibility that you do that because you aren't doing anything towards actually achieving it. I don't hope that this channel becomes successful and grows. I'm going to put in the work towards actually making sure that I achieve that. So if you want to lose weight, then you need to figure out the exact foods that you're going to eat and then what exercises you're going to do. If you want to have a successful relationship, then you need to sit down with your partner and figure out what a successful relationship looks like to the both of you, and then identify the actions that will help maintain a successful relationship. The next 2 pillars are the practice of self-assertiveness and the practice of personal integrity. These both have to do with staying true to your values by acting in congruence with your beliefs. With self-assertiveness, you'll need to be honest with yourself and those around you about your particular thoughts or feelings in a given situation, even if it means that you might cause tension or disagreement within the group. Many people put aside their thoughts and opinions because they don't want to risk the harmony or the opinions of others in that situation, and they then rationalize that by putting their thoughts and opinions aside, they are not being selfish. And while self-assertiveness is technically being selfish, Selfishness isn't necessarily bad, especially whenever it comes to having your needs met. So if you're in a group project, you feel like the work distribution is unfair and that it will overwhelm you, then you need to speak up and try to offer a different solution about how to organize the working arrangement, even if it means risking the opinions of others. And what you'll find more often than not is that people will respect you more if you speak your mind. Personal integrity, then, is simple. It is having your actions reflect that of someone who is honest, trustworthy, and reliable. So if someone asks you to work on a project for them, but you can't reasonably get it done, then you should decline it because you can't reliably get it done for them. And if you set a specific time to meet someone, then you don't show up 10 minutes late. Your happiness and self-esteem will then improve the more that you act in accordance with your values. The last pillar is the practice of self-acceptance, which is essentially understanding yourself and not allowing you to become your own enemy. You will have negative behaviors, emotions, and actions, but you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. Rather, you should try and seek why those happened and what caused them to occur so that in the future, you can prevent them from occurring in the first place. Most people have negative thoughts about their body, and so they either try and run from them, ignore them, and pretend they don't exist, or they focus too much on them and think a lot about how they are ugly and fat. But this doesn't actually work at all. So you need to work towards accepting all of your deficits, and by acknowledging them, you will be much better able to understand them and work towards fixing them. It is important to remember that acceptance does not mean that you are making excuses or that you like a certain part about yourself. It simply means that you acknowledge that a fact is a fact and you move on from there. And this is the pillar that I will be applying to my life because I have an issue with procrastination. Whenever I start to get a feeling of resistance, it is super uncomfortable and I try to run away from it by giving in to the procrastination. But I am now going to work towards accepting the resistance so that I can work through it in spite of it. But now it's your turn. What was your favorite pillar and how are you going to apply it to your life? Please comment that below. Give it a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day.